Good evening. This year was interesting. It's actually the last 2 years. It's the first year we've ever had a distinguished alumnus be recognized 2 years consecutively. But due to the nature of the graduation last year, Mr. Kearney, Michael Kearney, who was our distinguished alumnus last year, is also recognized this year. He also led the color guard, the honor guard for the Emil Sanger Post-10 color guard at graduation. It was pretty interesting knowing that they do over 100 color guard presentations of colors throughout the year. It still took an hour and a half to prepare for our graduation. It was good seeing them working, get ready for that. It was a 1970 graduate of Seymour High School. Did a great job. Thank you. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. At this time, we'd like to recognize those staff members who are moving on and retiring from Seymour. It's my pleasure to introduce Bungie Principal, Ms. White.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. The first person who's retiring is Mrs. Marcy Sly. On our faces. You are an incredibly hard worker and the children love working with you. Marcy, we're thrilled to see how you're enjoying this time with your family, your husband, Jim, and your 3 daughters, Steph, Shelby, and Haley. And we wish you nothing but happiness, good health, and more babies. I mean, grandbabies. Lucy, Gracie, Reese, and your new grandson will be arriving shortly. Marcy, thank you for taking care of our students and for helping to make Bungie School a joyful place to be. We wish you much happiness during your retirement years. Unfortunately, Marcy could not be with us here in person this evening, but we wish you the best. Next is Mrs. June Tima. Mrs. Tima, would you be able to come up if you're here? Okay. So Mrs. Tima, for over 20 years, Mrs. June Tima has been educating and shaping our students during their most important and most challenging early childhood years. I knew Mrs. Tima since our days at Anna L. Presti, and I became reacquainted with Mrs. Tima at Bungie School, where she served as a kindergarten teacher. Mrs. Tima is kind, hardworking, and passionate about what she loves, teaching. We are truly grateful to have such an amazing, kind, and hardworking teacher. Mrs. Tima is passionate about what she loves, teaching at Bungie School. We thank Mrs. Tima for the wonderful learning experiences. For those of you who know Mrs. Tima, you know that she enjoys camping, singing, traveling, her dogs, and especially her family time with her loving husband, Paul, and 2 beautiful children, Taylor and Trevor. Mrs. Tima, thank you for devoting your lifetime to educating Seymour schools for many years. Thank you for being a valuable part of the Seymour team. On behalf of the Bungie staff, we wish Mrs. Tima continued happiness, success, and the best of everything in her retirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Feige. We hope that they're watching at home, so that's why a round of applause I think is appropriate for those 2 retirees. Unfortunately, could not physically be here this evening. It's now my pleasure to introduce the principal from Chapter of Presti, Mr. David Lecker.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. I've had the pleasure of working with Melissa Drode since 2010. I will miss her greatly and what she means to the students and staff at CLS. A lifetime Seymour resident, as a child, Melissa attended Maple Street School, which later became Anna Lepresti School, where Melissa subsequently taught for many years. Melissa taught physical education at Naugatuck High School for 10 years before taking a 12-year hiatus from teaching to raise her 4 sons, Jimmy, Jason, Jacob, and Jeffrey, with her husband, Gary. When she returned to the full-time teaching of physical education, Melissa did so at the Presty and Chatfield schools until CLS opened in the fall of 2012. Her positive words of wisdom to her students of "do what's right" is advice that all should follow. Melissa shared that her overriding objective as a physical education teacher was for every student to feel successful and encouraged, to be included, and to develop the knowledge and skills necessary to maintain physical fitness throughout their lives. Melissa, objective exceeded. Congratulations on your retirement, and thank you for your many years of successful teaching the children of Seymour. You will be missed. Wendy Sebas began her work in Seymour Public Schools in 1987. For the next 33 years, Wendy created many lasting memories for Seymour students within the preschool and pre-kindergarten programs. The love and support she has shown to all of her students has been greatly appreciated by many Seymour teachers, staff, and families. Mrs. Sebas has commented on how proud she has felt as she has seen former students as they've grown up and achieved so much within the Seymour Public Schools community. Mrs. Sebas has always been an important part of the CLS staff. She is always someone that her colleagues can count on for a listening ear. We would all like to thank her for always supporting us. We wish Mrs. Sebas the best as she begins her retirement. She is looking forward to more opportunities for crafting and spending time with her family. Congratulations, Wendy.
Now my pleasure to introduce the principal of Seymour Middle School, Ms. Jody Rhodes.
Good evening. Linda Rochu was one of our instructional paraprofessionals at Seymour Middle School. We wanted to thank you, Linda, for your work with our middle school students, from your day-to-day interactions to overnight trips. Linda was there for all of our students every hour of the day. We wish her the best in her retirement and send her our best wishes. Linda? Mrs. Christine Alcott. Chris wore many hats in Seymour, and we thank her for that. As we thank Chris, it is not as she's a teacher who is most passionate about her content and passing along her knowledge and love to her students. She recently came back to visit during their field day because she had wanted to have nice closure in the year with them this school year. And we appreciate all that Chris gave to all of our students in Seymour Public School District. Mrs. Alcott? Mrs. Romanita Hernandez. You can call on Nita for anything and everything, and she was there to support you and all of our students. Her support never went unnoticed or unappreciated. We miss Nita when she moved and retired during the school year, but we wish her best with her family and know that she's nice and warm when she was down in Florida. Mrs. Hernandez? Mrs. Elaine Roach, Madam or Senora. Elaine made every piece of world language special for her students and our staff. She held a French restaurant for Mrs. Freeman and me last year where all the students prepared French food, spoke their French language, and did a marvelous job. And and she sat there beaming with pride over every single thing that the children said and all the food that they had prepared. Her dedication and passion of world language was shared and instilled in many SMS students, and I know that many of her former students have shared their love of her and her languages from the high school and beyond. Mrs. Roach? Mrs. Linda Souza. Linda was an instructional paraprofessional at Seymour Middle School, and Linda told me the other paras refer to her as the mom, as she was there to not only support our students, but her colleagues as well. We thank Linda for all of her service in Seymour Public Schools and at the middle school, and wish her our best during her retirement. Linda? Thank you.
And from the high school, my pleasure to introduce Mr. James Bond.
Thank you, Michael. Mrs. Anita Cardona started working in Seymour High School in January 1986. Her starting salary was $14,000, and she was assured by Mr. Tony Lopresti that this was a great training ground to prepare her for her much better job in the future. Yet she was still working with us through this year and learning with us in Seymour. When she was first hired, she was one of only 2 counselors for 900 students in Seymour High School, giving her a caseload of approximately 450. During her time in Seymour, she helped develop the school counseling curriculum, the first curriculum, and she was responsible for the relationship with virtual high school, the language arts, the language assessment scales administration. She was our liaison to UConn and UConn classes. She was class advisor, peer support advisor, and international studies program coordinator, and she'll be dearly missed by our faculty. Anita Cardona, you're here. Eric Marco has been working in Seymour since the spring of 1987 in our social studies department. He has been characterized as a little scary by his students. Not only by students at times. However, he was also the first faculty member that these same students would ask for a letter of recommendation to college. Some of the accomplishments included the creation of the very first AP class they offered in Seymour High School. He coached basketball for 9 years, racking up a total school record of 62 consecutive wins, which I believe was also tied or beat the state record at that time. He's been our social studies department chair, football coach, freshman advisor, National Honor Society advisor as well. And I will miss his objectivity and frankness. Mr. Eric DeMarco. I always know I was in trouble when I come to my office and close the door. Mrs. Jennifer Sardo. She has been a valued member of our business department over the years, which she started in Seymour High School. Their business department is composed of 7 teachers. As Woodland and Oxford students built, as schools were built, we lost our students as the population declined. We went from approximately 1,000 students to 650 students. During this decline, our business department shrank, we had 3 teachers. While this was happening, Jen continued to develop her skills to become the best accounting teacher Seymour has ever had. Her work and dedication paid off when in 2017, her accounting program was recognized as being the 3rd best in the state of Connecticut. Jen is very proud of this accomplishment and all of her accomplishments. We'll miss working with her colleagues and our kids. Over time, she had the opportunity to be a senior class advisor. She was one of 2 FBLA advisors who support our students, helped them earn several FBLA state championships. She looks forward to be Grandma Gigi and spending time with her 5 grandchildren. Jen Sarko. Robert Bob Fratz. Over the years, Bob has helped us prepare for the breakdown, many graduations, athletic events, concerts, and other evening events. He always had a smile and was good-natured as a custodian, helping us keep the school in great shape over the years. He was always willing to help during one football game, we had one of our guests fall into a hole. A little story here. There was a utility cover, and it was kind of like a hole where there was drainage and everything else, and the guest fell in. So I ran to the custodian and said, we need help to, make sure we cordon this off, nobody else falls in the hole. So the army of custodians came out. We had, put stakes in and caution tape around the hole. It was dark out. So the section of Seymour High School was dark at night. And, but we were fortunate to Bob had the foresight to sit in the quad with the lights on so we could see while we worked, cover this hole, for that person. But like, again, first I thank Bob for shining the light, which allowed us to get the job done. Bob will be this. Please enjoy your time.
Thank you. My pleasure to introduce the Director of Nutrition Services, Ms. Cindy Burns.
Thank you. Jonathan worked in the nutrition services program for 13 years. And when she first told me she was leaving, I flat out denied her. I wasn't letting her go. During this time, she has made, in her 13 years, a tremendous contributions, not only to the program, but also to the students and staff. She has worked in every single one of the kitchens within the district, but mainly at Seymour Middle School, where she spent most of her time. As I said, John's home base was at the middle school. And as we all know, the pandemic has made many changes in the ways that we had done things. And this included the way we were feeding the students when the school was closed. Jana, along with the manager, Sandy Hoganson, were the only two employees who stood out there on the curbside at Seymour Middle School since March of 2020, up until last Wednesday, distributing meals to the students and families in town. They did not miss a day doing this. Jana was the smart one because even though I was there, Jana was the only one that had these battery-operated heated shirts and socks, and the rest of us were freezing out there. So kudos to her. To say Jana will be missed is an understatement. But family does come first always. And you have to do what you have to do. So cherish spending time with your mom, because most importantly, it is your family above all. John, I wish you all the best, and please know that there will always be a place back here in your Seymour home at Seymour Middle School or whatever school here in Seymour. Enjoy the time, you deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. And from central office, we will definitely and have already missed Mrs. Nancy Mariano. She was a mainstay at central office well before I got there. We miss her since her retirement earlier this year. Nancy did the exciting job of accounts payable. People think that gets taken for granted. Without her, the district didn't run. So we have missed and we will continue to miss Nancy, but we know sometimes for her, she would joke that, I'll make it up the stairs sometimes, Michael. As we were in the central office, we would have the running joke, who's going to beat who up the stairs? And Nancy kept plodding along and plodding along. We wish her the best in her retirement, and we know that she's enjoying her time off. So we wish Nancy the best. Okay, the next group of recipients, the Golden Apple Awards. This is an award that I brought to Seymour 4 years ago, and I'm really proud that I did. A thank you for hard work and dedication is only that sometimes. And sometimes we don't get to recognize the people enough that do great things for our district. The Golden Apple Award was created as a way to recognize those hardworking members of our team that truly go above and beyond for our community and for our students. These staff members are to exemplify what it means to be an outstanding member of the Seymour Public Schools through their actions, as well as their ability to inspire all that they meet. They are truly incredible, and we're beyond fortunate to have them part of Team Seymour. The recipient of this year's Golden Apple Awards are from Bungay School, Mrs. Lauren Reed. Chapel Presby School, Stacy Farrier. From our special education department, Ms. Deb Bolzarelli. Seymour Middle School, Deborah Bennett. And from Seymour High School, Mr. Joe Perucci. It is now my pleasure and honor to introduce Mr. Fred Stanek, who will announce the Rumble. Mr. Stanek.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Good evening, everyone. This is the 22nd year that the Seymour Board of Education has presented the David A. Brummer Excellence in Education Award. This award is given each year in memory of David A. Brummer, who served as the chairman of the Seymour Board of Education from December 1993 until his untimely passing in April of 1998. Mr. Brummer was an individual dedicated to making the Seymour Public Schools institutions of excellence. He was a terrific fellow and a good friend of mine. This award is given each year to an individual or individuals who has or have assisted in the education of the children of the town of Seymour in an outstanding and exemplary manner, and who share the ideals of David A. Brummer, who value community service and community participation in the Seymour Public Schools. The Board of Education, with the assistance of the Awards Advisory Committee this year, has decided to confer the 2021 David A. Brummer Excellence in Education Award upon Jara Sioka. Two more things to say. Please come up. Jara Sioka is a fourth grade teacher as a chaplain at Preston School. She is a very enthusiastic teacher who is invested in all of her students and reaches beyond the four walls of her classroom. Ms. Sioka participated in the COVID-19 birthday parades last year that were organized for her students during the pandemic. According to the person who nominated Ms. Sioka for the Brummer Award, quote, Jara makes learning interesting for her students. She encourages them to ask questions and to always look deeper into whatever subject matter they are handling. Even the most reluctant learner has difficulty not succumbing to her contagious enthusiasm for all things new. Our school district is indeed fortunate to have Ms. Zioka teaching at Sheffield Wesley School. Her students are especially fortunate to have her shape their learning, and their parents are blessed to have someone so invested in their children's education and future. On behalf of the Seymour Board of Education, I am honored to present the 2021 David A. Plummer Excellence Award to Jara Chip. I would now like to introduce Vice Chairman of the Board of Education, Jay Hatfield, who will present the John Jay Gallagher Memorial Athletic Award.
Good evening. It's my honor to award the John Jay Gallagher Memorial Athletic Award this year. A little bit about John Gallagher. He was 100 years old when he passed. I believe it was in 2000. He was named Seymour's #1 fan, and kids meant everything to him. So this award embodies somebody who is active in our community and our sports organizations to give back to our youth. This year's award recipient is Mr. and Mrs. Daniel and Jeanette Mara. Mr. and Mrs. Mara have been a huge part of our community, and especially the town's Little League organization. They have been the lead in raising tens of thousands of dollars by seeking sponsorships, planning fundraisers such as bus trips, and knocking on doors. They're the first to step in to ensure each child has what they need, even when their own children are no longer part of the program. Anyone who knows them will tell you they are givers and care deeply about the kids in our community. They're a positive step in recreating the village for our youth. Again, this year's recipients are Mr. and Mrs. Daniel and Jeanette Mara. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Victoria Saraceno to present the Vincentina Cabeza Excellence in Teaching Award.
Good evening, everyone. I feel so honored to be here today to have the opportunity to present this award to Mrs. Papazico. Unfortunately, she couldn't be with us today, but thank you for being with us in spirit. My name is Victoria Saraceno, and once again, I'm so honored to be here today. And I nominated her because she pours all of herself into the learning journey, well-being, and growth of all of her students with their humble demeanor and enriching teaching style. Her deep care shines through in the way that she provides helpful feedback and challenges us to push our limits, even when we think that we're not capable. This has been especially beneficial to me as I plan to pursue teaching in English in college next year. She also strives to make the community a better place to be as she advises the Seymour High School Anime Club, which unites students through a common interest. There is no doubt that Mrs. Papazico fulfills her role and then some as a truly excellent teacher. My older brother Zach and I have been so blessed to have the opportunity to be mentored by Mrs. Papazico. I am pleased to award you, Mrs. Papazico, with the Vincentina Cabeza Excellence in Teaching Award. Thank you for all you've done and continue to do. I now introduce Mr. Ed Shamella to present the Thomas J. Truini Memorial Education and Environment Award.
I'm going to share a little bit about Tina also because it's important that we recognize the people behind the award. Tina was a teacher in the Seymour system. She taught at Lopresti School, I think it was Maple Street first, then Lopresti, and she also then served on the Board of Education for approximately 16 years, 4 different terms, and she was very active with the Umbrella program. For those who are not familiar with the Umbrella program, that's the program that assists abused spouses and children that's located in the valley. So Tina will be very proud that a young lady presented the award in her honor. I get to present the award of the Thomas J. Truini Award. Now, Mr. Truini was a Seymour graduate. He then went and taught in the Monroe system, came back to the Seymour system as assistant superintendent, and then became the superintendent. Mr. Truini was always involved with environmental issues, and he also loved to hunt and fish. He just loved the environment, and so it was nice of us to honor him and his memory with his award. The recipient, I will mention some things that this is a 7th grader. He maintains honor roll grades, and he's part of the jazz band. He helps in the neighborhood. He helps to mow the lawns of neighbors. He took upon himself to help mow the lawn of a gentleman who recently passed away. He helps with snow plowing. He helps at a local farm with tending to the cows. He also learning the haying process, and he keeps the fields mowed also. Quoting two of the people who nominated him, the first, not only does he dedicate his time for caring for the world around him, but he has also been instilling a love and respect for the world into everyone he encounters, especially the children who admire him. Second quote, he sets an amazing example to our children of encouraging the love of playing outside and staying active despite the weather, all the while sharing his respect for the earth, encouraging everyone to clean up after themselves and recycle. I'm proud to present the Thomas J. Truini Memorial Education Environment Award to Noah Blood.
Another round of applause for our award winners, please. The next award that I'm honored to present is our 2021-22 Paraprofessional of the Year. Paraprofessionals are critical to Seymour Public Schools, as all of us know. For all of us here tonight and maybe tuning in tonight, I want to remind everyone the 6 primary areas of responsibility that our paras take on. They assist our teachers and their providers with building and maintaining effective instructional teams for their students. They assist with maintaining learner-centered and supportive environments for our students. They support with planning and organizing learning experiences for our students. They assist with engaging our students in learning and assisting in their instruction so that they have access to the curriculum. They assist with assessing learner needs, progress, and achievement. They meet standards of professional and ethical conduct. Nominations from administrators, teachers, other paraprofessionals, parents, students, and community members were reviewed by the Seymour Paraprofessional of the Year. Nominated paraprofessionals were given the option to continue on in this process, and they do still have that option for the state recognition. Finalists were interviewed by a committee who chose and are proud to recognize this evening Ms. Doreen Garcia. Now, 2021-22 Teacher of the Year. Seymour Teacher of the Year is recognized as an outstanding teacher. This person checks that box. They're committed to community involvement. Checks that one as well. They're able to express their personal feelings and beliefs about the teaching profession. They're aware of major public education issues in today's society. They're prepared to share with others on their teams and in the district, and to share professional development as well. They have a sincere interest in promoting the teaching profession. They have the ability to communicate to the public and the profession the importance of teaching. The Seymour Teacher of the Year does indeed check all of those boxes, as evidenced by their hard work and dedication to the Seymour Public Schools. They went through a grueling interview process as well. The Seymour Teacher of the Year will be recognized at the State Awards ceremony in December. The State Teacher of the Year finalists serve as teacher ambassadors for public education. And it is our hope that our nominee tonight goes far in that process as well. They're appointed to education advisory committees and become consultants to the State Department of Education. It is my honor and pleasure this evening to present the Seymour 2021-22 Teacher of the Year, Ms. Deidre Spahn. Chair. You know, Deidre, that chair, you have to guard that, because when we took it out of the last Teacher of the Year's room, it was definitely hard to grab it from them, so congratulations. It is now my pleasure to introduce both Mrs. Rogan and Mr. Freund, who will present the CAVE Student Leadership Awards.
So this year, Seymour Middle School had two recipients, Mr. Samuel Rodriguez and Mr. Braden Pasantes. I'm going to begin with Sam. Sam works hard in and out of school. He has been a member of our student council and debate teams. He is also on the Yellow Bulldogs traveling hockey team. He is the founder of Sam's Kids, which is a nonprofit organization to fight childhood hunger. Sam's food drives have spanned the United States from Connecticut to California, collecting over 24,000 pounds of food. We are very proud of Sam's efforts, and that's why he was chosen to receive this leadership award. Mr. Braden Pasantes joined our SMS community at the beginning of the 7th grade year. He quickly became involved in the boys soccer team, Seymour Pop Warner football, and the middle school chorus. He has always stood out as a role model and wanted to challenge himself with continuing with the world language this year, even though he had missed the first part of this in the 7th grade year. Throughout a challenging year, Braden has shown leadership. He's taken charge of small groups with a positive attitude in his classes and lessons, and has always shown a deep sense of respect for the staff and his peers at Seymour Middle School. Congratulations, Braden.
Seymour High School's CAVE, one of the CAVE Student Leadership Award recipients this year is Samantha Massey. Samantha is a talented student who's involved in many activities, including sports and extracurricular clubs. As an athlete, she has participated in cheerleading and outdoor track for all 4 years. During her cheerleading tenure, her squad won the state in the co-ed division, as well as being named the 2019 Team of the Year. Over the years, Samantha has been involved in Chemistry Club, Student Council, FBLA, Best Buddies, and Hope Club. Given a high level of extracurricular involvement, she has managed to find time to volunteer at Seymour Historical Societies at Dosant for elementary school tours, Pop Warner, and cheer camp as a cheer coach. The Spooner House, cooking and food services, and at the Red Cross for blood drives. She has received several awards and recognitions, including the Gessick Honors Award and the George Washington Book Award. Her plans include studying political science. Samantha Massey. Seymour High School's other key student leadership award is awarded to Joseph Orlando. He's here with us tonight. Hey, Joseph. Joseph is an active member of the community. While attending Seymour High School, he's participated in basketball every year, and as a senior, he was named as one of the captains. His gameplay and leadership helped the team advance further in the LTL tournament than in the recent past. Joseph has been a member of the National Honor Society since 10th grade and has been recognized with the Gessick Honors Award for his academic prowess. When not in school, Joseph volunteers his time at several food banks, collecting, organizing, and distributing food for the less fortunate. His volunteerism has supported the Church of the Good Shepherd, Trinity Church, and St. Vincent de Paul Food Bank. In addition, he has supported the Seymour Wildcat Baseball Camp and has participated in the CIAC Sportsmanship Conference, both the MDL and CIAC Leadership Conferences. His plans include studying finance. Joseph.
Samantha Massey.
Thank you.
They're no longer my students.
Things never work out. That being said, I would like to have Mr. Stramello. Please.
Okay, we every year have two students that assist us on the Board of Education as student representatives. We honor obviously the senior because the senior's leading us. We've had the pleasure of having Zachary Baraka for 2 years. Zachary has opinions and I'm afraid to share them, which is very refreshing. And on behalf of the board, I would like to present a certificate to Zachary Baraka.
Thank you, Mr. Stramello. Good evening once again. For the awards which were just presented, the Rummer, Gallagher, Cabeza, and Truini Awards are awarded with the assistance of the Awards Advisory Committee. The committee is consists of representatives, parents from 4 schools, as well as a member of the 2 members of the Board of Education and a member of the public at large, and a high school representative. This year, we would like to recognize Ola Stasek, who is graduating as our student representative, who is leaving us. I don't know if Ola's here. And at this time, I would like to reintroduce Mr. Jim Thorpe.
Good evening again. Every year, about 34,000 students throughout the nation are recognized as commended students in the National Merit Scholarship Program. These students placed among the top 50,000 scores of the more than 1.5 million students who entered the 2021 competition by taking the 2019 preliminary SAT National Merit Scholar Qualifying Test. These students represent a valuable national resource. Recognizing their accomplishments is vital to the advancement of educational excellence in the nation. Seymour High School doesn't always have somebody who gets this recognition, but this year we do. I have Rebecca Kramer early come up and see. One of the top 50,000 students in the country. I'll introduce myself. Now, the next section will be different. At this point, every year we get to recognize our top 10 students at this Board of Education Awards recognition. I'll go in reverse order, starting with number 10. Uden Rona. She's ranked number 10 in the class. She'll be attending the University of Connecticut. She's here, please come on forward. Samantha Massey, number 8. Will be attending George Washington University. Mia Bronson, number 7, will be attending Indicate College in the fall. Colin Smith, number 6, will be attending the Florida Institute of Technology. Anthony Hogan, number 5, will be attending the University of Connecticut. So skills, I'm telling you.
No, I'm like sitting over here.
Oh. Don't run, you won't want to answer. Susanna Aminofsky, number 4, will be attending Western Connecticut State University. Taller than me.
Yeah.
Emma Pasmal, number 3, will be attending Fairfield University. Kenneth Dahmer, salutatorian, will be attending Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Rebecca Kramer Early will be attending the University of Connecticut. She's at Valedictorian.
We will take a short recess. Those of you who would like to take some photos, if you're choosing to leave for the second portion. Second portion is the special Board of Ed meeting scheduled for this evening after the award portion. If you'd like to take any photos or waves or anything like that, we're going to take Mr. Swindle. Call the meeting back to order.
We'll go with the recognition, Mr. Stanley, please.
I guess I must read these. I'm a member of the Seymour Parade Events Committee and the committee sponsored the Seymour Member for the Memorial Day Festival.
Excuse me, Mr. Miller, you might want to pass the microphone.
Sorry, I am a member of the Seymour Parade Events Committee, which sponsors the Seymour Remembers Memorial Day Essay Contest, which has been conducted for many years here at Seymour. And Mr. Harvey Catlin, a social studies teacher at Hampton Middle School, is the advisor for the contest. Great job, telling the kids write great essays. The topic of the essay is message: what Memorial Day means to my family and me. I wish more yesterday to the judges to come to your meeting very well. Since the parade was canceled due to inclement weather, the winners were honored by the Board of Selectmen on June 1st, 2020. Each received a plaque and a $50 check from funds donated to the committee for the parade. The winners are Jeffrey from the Jeffrey Trusted School, Thomas Gallagher, first place, Joseph Laval, runner-up, Tyler Homestead, first place, Emma Consteria, Daniel first place. Area. Congratulations. Thank you.
It looks like we will pass number 3 because the high school representative has left and gone home. The next agenda item is public comment. I would just like to read again the purpose behind public comment before we proceed. Public comment provides the opportunity for the public to make a comment. It is not a dialogue between the board and the public. Based upon what is heard during the public comment, the board may choose to add a topic to the agenda. If questions are posed that the chairman is able to answer, those questions may be addressed under the chairman's comment portion of the agenda. The board will not discuss personnel matters. Comments should be respectful and no longer than 3 minutes in length, so that all who wish to comment may have the opportunity to do so. All public wanting to comment will need to state their name and address for the record prior to addressing the board. And Mr. Champagne, are we going to do first the comments that are already sent to us?
Yeah, sure, we can do that. I don't have anybody that nobody joined the Zoom.
I'm right here.
Okay.
My name's Casey Grenier. I'm a mother of 2. I have an almost 18-year-old and an almost 8. My youngest is at Sheffield Presty. I live at 29 Maple Street. I'd like to address the unmasking of our students based on what came out this week and the plan to go forward with masking again. I won't bore you with all the statistics and all the science. We know that we're over that. These need to come off. But I will tell you this, masks are harmful for our students. The upcoming year's plan requiring our children to cover their noses and mouths is not based on science, but it's based on funding from the state. This school system will receive. Mental health issues with our youth in Connecticut are at an all-time high, with emergency visits and record-breaking rates. This summer, our children will be breathing fresh air. They will be with their families, doing activities like camping, amusement parks, and they will be forced to be muzzled this fall. By allowing this insane mandate, you are cultivating a culture that school will be viewed as prison and suffocation, and outside activities away from school will be known as freedom. I want my child to love and look forward to school the way she once did, not dread it. What standard is this setting for our students? Be the change in this state. Parents have a choice where they want to move to. Connecticut was the #1 state where people were fleeing before the pandemic. And the pandemic has brought in 10% of Manhattan into lower Fairfield County and all the way up into Hartford. So yes, people are moving here, but Connecticut residents want out and they want to go to school where their kids can breathe and be unmasked. Allowing our children to breathe should be your top priority. Don't sell our kids out to gain federal funding. Thank you.
I'll ask a second time. Anyone else who wishes to make a public comment, please come forward. Go ahead, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Sadie Patrick. I live at 46 Greenwood Circle, and I'm here today to discuss the mandating of masks that's on our children. First, I'm going to tell you what brought me here. I brought my 5-year-old son to the Bungie School playground, and as soon as we stepped out of the car, my son realized he wasn't wearing his mask. He said, "Mom, I'm not allowed to play over there because I don't have a mask on." I told him it's okay, we're outside. He then had what I would consider to be a minor panic attack. The look of confusion on his face with the tears that followed broke my heart. He was terrified to play outside without a mask on his face. It was that moment I knew I had to speak out and that something's wrong. My child's introduction to school is fear. Fear that if he isn't wearing a mask, he'll be shamed. Fear that if he gets too close while playing with his peers, he'll be scolded. Fear that if he steps outside without a mask, he'll get in trouble. A true education comes from interacting with your teachers face to face. Growth is achieved and lessons are learned by reading faces and reactions to situations. Smiling and seeing others smile help our bodies to release cortisol and endorphins that provide health benefits. That might sound silly, but I challenge you to go home and smile at a 5-year-old and see their response. I guarantee their reaction and response won't be the same behind that mask. With you behind that mask, take the muzzles off of our kids. The American Institute for Economic Research states that the average drugstore mask that a vast majority of our children wear, and I quote, are largely ineffective and do not function after 20 minutes due to saturation. And I believe that statement because my 5-year-old steps off the bus every day with the inside of his mask being dirty and moist. The only thing that cloth protected my son from was fresh air for 7.5 hours and nothing else. Mask wearing has become so natural and obedient for our kids that most haven't even taken the time to consider the evidence, the facts, the science. The rebreathing of our exhaled air will without a doubt create oxygen deficiency and a flooding of carbon monoxide, which can lead to dizziness, headaches, low blood oxygen levels, etc. That's also quoted from the American Institute for Economic Research. When children are at lowest risk of contracting COVID and teachers are vaccinated, it's time for you to think about what's actually damaging our kids. Are you aware of how many children have died from COVID in Connecticut in 2020? According to the American Pediatric Association, there's been 2 between the ages of 0 and 19. 2. Keep that in mind with what I'm about to tell you. Are you aware of how many children have committed suicide in 2020? 15. 15 between the ages of 10 and 19. 15 children who felt desperate and alone during this pandemic. These kids are dying from another pandemic called depression. It's not COVID. Let that sink in. My child got diagnosed with major depressive disorder this past year because he had everything ripped away from him. His school, his normalcy at school, his swim, his after-school program is all gone. There is no such thing as normalcy right now. Our kids need that back. They need their days filled with school. They need their full days of school back without a mask. You need to push back and report the concerns of us parents to those who need to hear it. That's your job to do right and stand by our kids. The mental state of our children depend on you to stand up and fight and get their lives back to normal. I believe that it's time to reevaluate the policy and procedure regarding mask mandate on our students. It's time to give us parents back the right to decide what's best for our kids. It's time to lift the mask mandate and allow our children to breathe. It's time. Now get these masks off our kids' face.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Deborah Sherman, 25 Doria Drive, and I'd like to follow up on that speaker because I'm concerned about the psyche of our children with these mask mandates. As she said, masks don't work. They don't work for slowing the spread of COVID. They do work to harm our children, like she said. They're harming our children physically, socially, emotionally, and psychology. I've shared my email to you all, and I have 75 sources supporting these statements that I'm making. They're here too, if you need them again. We've come a long way since this pandemic started a 1.5 years ago. We have to adapt. We now know that vulnerability to death from COVID is more than 1,000-fold higher in the elderly than in children. We know that that for children, COVID is less dangerous than many other harms, including the flu. We know that children have over a 99.99% recovery rate from COVID. We know that asymptomatic children do not spread COVID. We know have protected the elderly and the vulnerable, and anyone else that wanted protection with these vaccines. It's now time to protect our children and ensure we're not harming them by forcing them to wear masks. A recent study from the University of Louisville, released just a few weeks ago, disputes the effectiveness of requiring a mask for children, contrary to CDC guidelines. This study showed that masks did not slow the spread of COVID, and importantly, that included whether the community rate of infection was low or high. This study covered all seasons that children attend school, fall, winter, spring. It was a thorough study. And it was done using schools here in the US that have already ended their mask mandates. Children are being harmed more by the mask mandate than they ever would be harmed by COVID. This study and many others showed when wearing masks 6+ hours per day, children can experience an increase in headaches, dehydration, shortness of breath, difficulty concentrating, fatigue, chronic stress, anxiety, depression, and more. I could go on. And not surprisingly, dealing with all of that resulted in a decline in their cognitive performance. Over 43,000 medical professionals are speaking out against masking of children. The studies I have here. We have to consider their findings as well and not blindly rely only on CDC guidelines, which have been shown to be ever-changing. I ask that you provide us the safety studies that support long-term masking of our kids. I couldn't find any in any of these 75. I believe we need to do a benefit-risk analysis of masking on these kids, and once done, there will be no doubt of what action needs to be taken from here. I hope that most of you on the boards, whether you're on the policy committee or the health committee, are on the same side. And if so, I urge you, all of you, to advocate for our children, as other local towns boards are now starting to do, by writing to the governor and the Department of Health to consider this study and the others I've sent you and drop this policy of mandatory masking of children in schools. Masks can be optional. Let the parents decide. The facts simply do not support mandatory masking of our kids. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Jamie Bailey. I live at 15 Oriole Lane. I am here as a concerned parent. Why are you making masks mandatory? CT has 3.6 million residents. Out of 3.6 million, 52 have tested positive in the past few days. That's 0.0014% of our state. Seymour has 16,293 residents, but is part of the New Haven County, which has 850,329 residents. Out of 850,329, 13 have tested positive in the past several days. That's 0.0015% of our county. This proves there is no longer any actual high risk of infection of the virus in our community. Looking at all of the physical evidence, it is crystal clear that the only reason our district would keep a mask mandate would be so you are accepted for school grants. Money, that's what it boils down to. This is so appalling to me that you are sacrificing our children for money. We, the people, put you in these chairs to protect our kids. Leave our kids alone. This is not about safety, clearly. This is about compliance. You are allowing yourselves to be swayed by people above you at our kids' expense. Did you really think all the mama bears would stay quiet while you mentally and emotionally abuse our kids? Children learn from facial expressions and social experiences. With these mask mandates, which are unwarranted, you are denying children the social experiences and interactions needed to thrive. And for what? Masks need to be optional, not mandated. Did you know that Hartford Archdiocese and Bridgeport have committed to no masks? Wolcott is pushing towards making masks optional. Also, Groton, Southington, Newtown, Oak Line are also making masks optional. So why am I having to stand here before you to fight for my child's right and my parental rights? And I know you can't answer questions at this time, which I understand, but I do have 3 questions at some point that I would like answered. One of them is, with the religious exemption for vaccines gone, under federal law, you are required to provide an education at your expense. So the children whose families hold a deeply held religious belief, how will you provide an education for them? That's number 1. Number 2, what about children like my daughter, who currently has an IEP, whom will be kicked out of school in 2022? How are you guys going to provide an education for my daughter?
Number 3, school resource officers help ensure our children's safety. Over the years, there have been proposed bills in our legislature to cut costs and or get rid of school resource officers. This is concerning. Have we forgotten about Sandy Hook and those poor parents who lost their children? Thank you. So I feel safer sending my kids to school knowing that there are school resource officers there to protect my children. To conclude, the masks are harming our children. I gave you the data. There is no reason to mandate these masks, but greed and benefit to you, not to us. We, as the parents, should make that choice. My child, my choice. Thank you.
My name is Elena Zinkry. I live at 140 Mountain Road. I'm coming to you today to ask that you stand with many parents and members of the Seymour community who are fighting to make masks optional in our schools. The vaccine has been administered to staff in the school system who wanted it. It has been proven that the masks do nothing as far as protection. Dr. Fauci himself stated masks don't work. Masks do far more harm than good on a psychological, social, emotional, and physical level. Our children are the least susceptible to this virus, yet seem to be the ones suffering the most. There was a lab analysis done in Florida on 6 children's masks, and 11 dangerous pathogens were found on the masks, including but not limited to staph, sepsis, pneumonia, tuberculosis, diphtheria, and meningitis. According to the CDC, children are 99.997% likely to recover if infected. They contract it the least, they spread it the least. Numbers in Connecticut are dropping, such as yesterday's positivity rate being 0.4%, and only 34 people in the hospital compared to much higher past numbers. I feel Connecticut is doing our children an injustice by having a piece of cloth to inhibit their social, emotional, and physical growth. Oh yeah, and their breathing. I encourage you all to look at the facts and help us advocate for the best interest of our kids and petition the state to make masks optional. Before you say there's nothing you can do to support us on this matter, there is. Brookfield Public Schools sent a letter to Ned Lamont agreeing with parents on this matter, urging him to revise mandated masks for the fall. Their letter includes what I just mentioned. The fact that science tells us children are much less susceptible to COVID, adults have been vaccinated, school transmissions of COVID are incredibly low, and many other states have lifted the mandate for these very reasons. I've attached their letter in my email. The ball is now in your court. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to do a public comment? Anyone else wishing to make a public comment? One more time, anyone else wishing to make a public comment? Public comment portion of the meeting at this time is closed. Okay, moving along to the consent agenda. What is the board's pleasure? Come on board. Is there a second to Peters? Seconded by Mr. Champagne. Any discussion needed? All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Okay, moving along to recommended actions. First one is the rotating nurse. What is the board's pleasure? Motion made by Jay, is there a second? Seconded by Chris. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. What is the vote? Please raise your hand. Opposed? Carries unanimously.
Motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the donation from Ocean State Job Lot for hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes, and face shields, and direct the superintendent to return the placement of this donation.
Motion made by Jay, seconded by Peter. Any discussion on this motion? Again, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed, motion passes unanimously.
Make a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve this donation from the Claridis family to a memorial bench inscribed in loving memory of Peter Claridis, and direct the superintendent to determine the placement of this donation.
Is there a second to that motion? Fred, I saw first. Any discussion needed? Jay, you want to explain a little bit about this one to the people that may not know?
Actually, I do believe that it is, and I think this is Brett is here, if I could, to the superintendent, to the chair. Actually, I think the donation is from the Seymour Kickoff Club, or Father Kickoff Club.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Brett. Not the Claridis family, but it was discussed at the athletic committee meeting, so, there's your champagne. So just to make that clear, the golf club family donated in Mr. Claridis' honor, as he was a longtime supporter of the organization, I believe it was, and the team.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed, carries unanimously. Okay, the next, who makes a motion here? I'm not gonna let Jay do everything.
Cross-country track and field. Direct the superintendent to determine the correct placement.
Is there a second, Mr. Dan, by Mr. Cooper? Any discussion? Any questions? Okay, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next, textbook approval.
Make a motion to approve the recommendation of the curriculum and technology committee to purchase Envision Mathematics 2020 for Bunny Elementary School and Chapel Preston Elementary School.
Is there a second to Jay's motion? Is there a second? Peter, thank you. Okay, any discussion? The curriculum committee members, Mr. Champagne?
Is this part of this year's budget that the purchase will be made or next year's?
Mr. Wilson, can you answer that question, please?
Next year's budget.
Okay, Mr. Champagne? Okay, any other questions, concerns? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. On 6 again, opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Next on there is reports and discussion and possible action. First is presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding estimated year-end finances. Mr. Bill, are you going to speak to that?
I'd be happy to.
Okay, please.
So I'll speak loudly, hopefully everybody can hear me. We have thank you very much. So we have met with the town of Seymour, and we have reconciled through the end of May. Pleased to report that we have fully drawn down the initial CRF grant for $1.4 million that was awarded for expenses related to COVID through December 30th, 2020. If you look at the financial report, year to date, it shows a small surplus. We have been forecasting for the last several months that certified staff, non-certified staff, employee benefits have been trending well. We did transfer $300,000 to the town for workers' compensation, as we traditionally do at this time of year. Infrastructure services related to COVID-19 has an impact on account 431 building repair and maintenance, which is currently in a deficit situation. Moving down, we did receive a credit from All-Star Transportation, account 517. Special ed and non-local transportation, we see a savings due to the use of the ACE transportation. Now, Tuition, we have encumbered for special education costs based on student enrollments and specialized programs. Special ed and private facilities account remains in a deficit situation. We did receive the rest of the excess cost funds that have been applied to our tuition account. Again, special education costs are always difficult to forecast year over year, this being an exceptional year. So not surprised to expect a difference. So where we are right now, at the end of the month, we show a small surplus. We still have June to go. We're going to be looking through our encumbrances and closing out the remaining encumbrances. At the end of, just to know what to expect, by the end of June, we should have some preliminary numbers. By the end of July, we'll have an unaudited number. Going into August and September, we'll go through our annual audit and we'll report the actual year-end balance back to the Board of Education. Typically, what we'll do is if there's a surplus, we will pre-purchase items for the upcoming year. Typically, there will not be a deficit, but whatever is pre-encumbered will be returned to the town. Questions?
I'm sorry, do we have a forecast for what will end the year?
Again, yes, we do. At the end of May, the forecast was for a $90,000 surplus. But again, that number is going to change, and I just have to issue caution on that. There's encumbrances that have been open for the better part of the year. You may open encumbrance for a water estimate for the year, and then as that comes in, we'll reduce that or close it. So again, that number is going to change, and it's not uncommon for that to happen. But right now, there's a small surplus, and you should feel good about that. Meaning that the budget you adopted is very close to what the actual expenditure was. $90,000 on a $30-some odd million budget is a very good forecast.
Okay. Any other questions? David?
Thank you so much.
Superintendent, you're up next.
I can talk equally loud.
Well, no, I'll give it to you. I'm yelling at David for not passing.
Thank you. This is Mrs. Tenza. I had submitted a report for the board review summarizing the teacher and administrative use really of the additional Wednesday early releases that the board so graciously honored in the fall. And we were very excited as an administrative team to review the logs. The teachers every year keep a log of their professional learning on their early release days. So they just added these extra days to it. And when we reviewed it, we were just so proud to report back to you, as we had said that we would, that their activities really fell into a few specific buckets. One of them focused on instructional learning strategies. Again, along the lines of what's going to work best with in-person and hybrid or full remote learners. We learned a lot. And professional learning bucket, and then some of it was very specific programming for individual students. So we were pleased to share that with you. I reviewed every log. I pulled a few quotes from various teachers so that you could see how sincerely they appreciated and used the time. And they wanted to make sure that there was a thank you conveyed to the board.
Questions? Okay, next on the agenda is the committee reports. Now, our chair for the finance committee is with her son at college, so unfortunately she's not able to be here with us tonight. Mrs. Derrick, do you want to comment on that meeting we had or not?
The summary of what we heard tonight, we went into a few more details regarding some of the encumbrances,
Okay. Athletic and Health Committee, is that Mr. Champagne is the chair, I know. Anything you would like to comment on in your minutes, please?
We had discussion on uniform. Get into a 5-year cycle for uniforms, and
we're planning on meeting again sometime in the summer to go over this.
Okay, any questions from the athletic committee? All right, curriculum and technology committee meeting. I forget who's our chair of that. Who can help me? Miss Harmony, who is also chair of that, so she's not present also. Who else is on that committee would like to comment?
The other two members are not present.
Either, okay, all right, unfortunately. Okay, move along to the updates, superintendent vacancy, in a meeting, which we're allowed to by state statutes. We had candidates, and we narrowed the candidates down. We are going to be doing more interviews on the 28th and 30th of this month. And I want to caution all board members, since we all signed a letter of confidentiality, that we please make sure that no one is indicating anybody who has been chosen or who has been eliminated, because that's what confidentiality means. We're not to discuss that until the final decision. So again, I'm going to reiterate the importance of the confidentiality of that, both to protect the candidates who have stepped forward, but also to protect ourselves. Okay, business manager vacancy, Mr. Wilson.
Good evening, Mrs. Tenza, myself, and Mr. Fiorillo have been reviewing applicants as they come in, as shared at the last meeting. Currently, we've had, since the last meeting, 3 more applicants. We have the last one to conduct an interview with later this week, and we will keep the board informed of how that goes.
Okay, and then we have the grant. Mrs. Tenza and Mr. Ferrell, if you want to address the grant, please.
Sure, this is Mrs. Tenza. I think my first question would be, is this the ESSER 2 grant?
Yeah.
Okay. We submitted and we were approved for the ESSER 2 grant. Not all districts have yet been approved, but we were very pleased to have those funds approved, and we are beginning the process of purchasing. It was, some of it was materials based, math resources, technologies, and computers. There were some personnel pieces. So we're beginning those steps, and we actually have until mid-August to submit for the ARP ESSER, which is the 3rd round of grants that came out. And we are in the process of starting to brainstorm with the administrative team to then put forth and get a little bit of stakeholder input as well on that grant.
I think Ms. Tenza is being a little modest. When you look at the ESSER grants, especially when you get into the ESSER 2 and the ESSER 3, they're very, there's a lot of detail that goes behind them. And many districts have had their grants returned for insufficient supporting documentation. This district did not. It was a funding shop. So I know there's a lot of work that's gone into that. Ms. Tenza should be appreciated for that work. It is a lot of support for districts, but it's also very targeted and very specific.
I'm sure also that Mrs. Tenza had assistance from the administrative team in the process of that grant. If I could speak for you.
The administrative team had to put on the
Okay, so congratulations to our administrative team for getting a grant that was not returned for insufficient data or stuff. That's great to hear. Okay. The chairman's comments are next. Michael, I have a small gift for you from the board in appreciation of your 4 years of service the Seymour School District. Good luck in all your future endeavors. And I have a quote which people know I like to use. Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or the present are certain to miss the future. John F. Kennedy. That concludes the board chair's comment. Any board members wishing to comment at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to compliment the high school administration, the entire administration, on this very nice high school graduation ceremony this past Friday evening. I thought it was just about perfect. It was very well done, and the graduates like sure enjoyed the ceremony. And I too would like to wish Mr. Wilson well. I think he's done a fine job in managing the school district during the COVID situation. Not everybody agrees with the way the system is managed, but I think he was outstanding and paid attention to the signs. And I thank you for that, Mr. Wilson. Thank you for your 4 years. Us too.
Thank you, Mr. Stanek. You jogged my mind. I was lucky enough to be able to attend all the moving up ceremonies. The 3 were held at Sheffield Presty. The 3 that were held at Bungie School. I attended the middle school graduation and also high school graduation. I want to publicly comment the 5 speeches that were made. The 2 that were made at the middle school by the students were outstanding, and the 3 that were made at the high school graduation I felt were also outstanding. Any other board member wishing to comment at this particular time? Okay, then we'll move along to the special education monthly. No, I'm sorry, I skipped the superintendent's report. My bad.
But you're getting on hook tonight, Mr. Schmidt. Thank you. Thank you, board members, for that recognition. I'd also like to thank you, Mr. Schmidt. 8 ceremony was a lot to attend last week. And thank you for doing that. Thank you to Mr. Hackle. Thank you to Mr. Stanek. Thank you to Mr. Garofalo, who also attended the high school graduation as well. And I know Mr. Hackle attended as well. Capital, the Presley and the middle school. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to accompany me and Associate Superintendent attended both wonderful events. I've said it many in all 4 years. Tonight is a night, that we get to honor and recognize all of the great people we have working with Seymour Public Schools. And tonight was no different. The award ceremony that started off this evening is always a highlight. It's always something that I look forward to. And I know I speak with my entire administrative team. They are very proud to recognize all the hardworking individuals. And if we could give an award out to every member of Team Seymour, we definitely would have tonight. And those people should really be proud of getting those awards and being recognized this evening. I'd like to thank my central office team, Rhonda, Leanne, Pat, Kathy, Lisa, David, Elise, all the students, all the parents, the entire staff, and the board members for their support over my 4 years here at Seymour. It is very much appreciated. I'm proud that Seymour has continually grown over my 4 years of leadership. And I've been honored to lead this district. I wish nothing but the best for Seymour schools moving forward. And I know that they're in good hands with this board, as well as with Associate Superintendent Tenza, as well as with team administrators and teachers. The dedication of those individuals in the classroom daily does not go unrecognized. So I know that good things are on the rise for Seymour, and I'm proud to be a part of it in 4 years under my leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving along now to the 9 on the agenda was information. We'll start with Ms. Dr. Boyle, please. Special Education Monthly Enrollment Update.
Good evening. As evident in the documentation provided, if you look at overall special education identification, we have been trending pretty low all academic year for a host of reasons. The last 2 months, May and June's numbers, we're going to see we're starting to return to what I would be, more normal types of numbers. Our staff did a lot of evaluations, particularly this spring. We did up to 78 evaluations, which is a lot of evaluations for a really short amount of time. You will see we did have one student outplaced in the month of May. But what's not reflected, that pleased to say, we do have 4 students in therapeutic placements who have graduated over the last 2 weeks, which is a nice accomplishment for our young people. So otherwise, I think the rest of the data is pretty self-evident, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Board members have any questions for Dr. Go ahead, Mrs. Terry.
I was looking at the progress monitoring teams, and it seems like the CLS tier 2 and 3, at least tier 2, has more significant jump in April than the other schools. Is there any, you mentioned you were doing more assessments, is there any logic behind that being 50% increase?
I think in general, we had more availability for staff as students started returning. Some of our distance learning teachers were no longer needing to provide as much service for distance learning, so we were able to give more tiered intervention to the full staff. I'd have to go back to the administrators, but that's a general opinion, I would say.
Okay, Mrs. Any other board members wishing to ask Dr. Then we'll move along to the informational section. You can see that there's the activities recognition from the Seymour Middle School, from Bungie Elementary School, and from Chapel Preston Elementary School. Then you notice we have some resignations of non-certified staff, resignations from the appendix E positions, and then we have, okay, now we're to the second public comment. Anyone wanting to comment at this particular time? Yes. Eric, are you still there? Again, please, your name and address.
Deborah Sherman, 25 Doria Drive. I know most of the parents have left, but I just wanted to say thank you to the parents that did come out tonight. And thanks for speaking on what's passionate about, what you're all passionate about. Thank you, parents.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to add to the agenda discussion on possible SEA grievance agreement.
Settlement agreement.
Settlement agreement.
Settlement.
Second. Okay, in order to add it to the agenda, we would have to have it.
Sorry, Mrs. Doherty. Sorry. I'd like to make a motion to add to the agenda an executive session to discuss the SEA proposed settlement agreement. Grievance settlement.
Question, yes. Yes, Stan. Is it possible?
Yes. Correct, thank you.
Okay. All right, so all those in favor of adding to the agenda another executive session to discuss that, please signify by. Okay. Okay, so now we are going to be moving into executive session. So the board chair will entertain a motion that the board enter into executive session to discuss the contracts of school security officers, network manager, technology coordinator, facilities manager, and the SEA settlement, possible settlement of the agreement, and to invite into that session, David, we're going to ask you to stay, please, to invite David Ferrillo, Mrs. Tenta, Mr. Wilson, and Kevin Pimpinelli. We're inviting you to executive session. I'm sorry, our attorney, Mr. Dugas, and Anne Marie Dragonis, our first select. Who's making that motion, please? Motion made by Jay, seconded by Peter. All those in favor, going? Yes. Each one separate? Boyd, could you answer that question, please?
Yeah, technically, the grievance settlement comes under the category of discussion regarding collective bargaining. It's technically a non-meeting, so that would be a recess. I suggest we do that following the executive session before coming out.
Okay. So we have, again, we had a motion by Jay to go into executive session, and it was seconded by Peter. All those in favor of going into executive session? Okay, we are entering into an executive session. So if your name was not there, I'm asking you to leave the meeting at this particular time. We will be coming out